Hi, Minesh Baxi here, and I have Patrick Murphy here, who is with B2B CFO. And his services, for some people might be a little bit too complicated to understand. But when we complete this conversation, if you're a business owner, you definitely want to know what he does for different businesses, including the story about Mr. Allen's Shoes Company as well. So, Patrick, welcome.
Oh, thank you, Minesh. I'm so grateful to be here. Excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited too because when we sat down and had this conversation, it was just a fun conversation. It was amazing to hear some of the things about you. Like one of the things which you told me about that you love riding motorcycles.
I love to travel and ride motorcycles, and I've rode motorcycles all over the world, including, as I told you, in India.
Yeah, I know you told me that story. That was pretty funny. So you actually did that in Goa. You said Goa is one of the places I've not been yet, but people say it's very pretty. So tell me a little bit about your experience in India and Goa.
Well, Goa is absolutely beautiful, and the people were really nice. And once you get there, it's not easy to get there, but once you do, things are very reasonably priced. So
Sure.
I was able to rent a motorcycle inexpensively and then ride it across the countryside. And as I told you, they didn't have gas stations, but there were people on the side of the road with 2-liter Pepsi bottles filled with gas that would put it into your tank with a funnel. So it was fun.
It was, and you obviously have no problems with these different kind of, like for me, I'm not like you a risk taker. First of all, I don't ride a motorcycle, but more important is this country you don't know, and you suddenly go there and then obviously feel at home with whatever the new changes are. Kudos to you.
Thank you.
And I know you talked about some other interests as well, but we'll talk more about B2B CFO in a minute here. I think people need to know a little bit about your background. You have a lot of successful business background, taking a small company to global enterprise. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's amazing how much experience I have considering how young I am. But
I agree with you.
I've been a CFO for well over 25 years, and most of my career has been either starting companies organically or purchasing them and then growing them and eventually exiting, selling them. I was an all-hats CFO at all these companies. So some people think a CFO, what do you, accountant or, no, it's the CFO is really closely related to the CEO these days. And so I was a chief operating officer in some ways. I managed cash, banks, loans. I did payroll, HR. I was in-house legal, reading contracts. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but, anywhere I could add value to the operation, and that's what I did. I had a series of companies grew, acquired, and sold, but one of them was Dialogue Marketing, and that was a company my partners and I bought about 15 years ago. They were doing $2 million a year in sales. And over 9 years, we grew it to $50 million a year in sales with operations in China, New York. We had operations in Brazil, Chile, Costa Rica, Utah, thousands of employees. It was really exciting going from those humble beginnings to where we ended up when we sold it.
Wow, congratulations to you. Obviously, nothing happens just automatically. There are people who have to work hard, put processes in place, bring the right kind of people and the strategy, and finally achieve those results as well. So congratulations to you for that kind of success story. Now, locally, I think people might know another company that you were able to help. Tell us a little bit about the local company that you were able to help exit as well.
Sure. After selling Dialogue Marketing to private equity, I was approached by Alan Bishop of Mr. Allen's Shoe Store. And if you grew up in this area, probably everyone knows 29 or 2 for 50 was their slogan and a famous advertisement. Mr. Allen's, I didn't know when he approached me, had grown quite an empire. He started the company at 19. And and the company's been around for a long, long time and had grown to encompass stores across 3 states under actually 3 different brands. And they asked me to come in and help them. They had some problems that needed solving, which was fine, and that's what I do. I came in there and rolled up my sleeves and said, let's take care of these things one at a time. They wanted to grow and expand, and ultimately he wanted to exit. And I have experience with exits, so that's what we set out to do. It took about 6 months to solve the problems, and it took a year to sell the company, but we successfully exited last summer, and it was exciting for the family, for me, for everybody. I'm passionate. Once I get involved in a project like that, victory will not be denied. We were going to sell this company. So.
Well, that's awesome. And I think that's the eye that you bring in. And because you have been an entrepreneur as well, you're able to understand, maybe forecast challenges, and then find entrepreneurial success solutions so that everybody wins in the process. So I think that is something that you bring. Now tell us a little bit about B2B CFO. What exactly is B2B CFO?
Well, B2B CFO is it's an aggregation of over 200 CFOs across the United States that have formed this partnership, and it gives me some heft. Rather than be, say, a single shingle CFO going out on my own, I have this organization behind me that was established in 1987, and in the sort of the edge it gives me is B2B CFO has written books like Avoiding the Danger Zone.
Yeah, I think you were talking about exit strategy here, so people can see the exit strategy.
Yes, the exit strategy handbook.
Avoiding the Danger Zone here, I can see that title as well.
We've developed proprietary software. We have some systems like the Game Plan, which is a way that we help our clients. And we have a forum. Us partners share information. So if I was to get into a client, maybe I'm not entirely familiar with their organization, one of our partners has experience in that organization, and then we can share that knowledge base.
Yeah, because there are so many different types of organizations, different types of industries. Not everybody can be an expert in everything, but if your friend, your partner has had that experience, now you can piggyback from their experience and make it easier for your client because there is enough experience behind to bring that solution to the table.
Absolutely, and that helps with the details. But from a larger standpoint, a lot of the issues and the opportunities companies have are very common. And I have experience. So somebody asked me, do you work with not-for-profits? And I said, I will, and I am, and their problem, their opportunities are no different than anybody else.
I think that's exactly, and you and I know Mike Grooley, who talks about traction and EOS implementation.
Yes.
Businesses are not that, the challenges are not uncommon. They're going to have challenges in the same area as most people will, and once you understand the structure of a business and you've seen the situation before, it's like a pattern. Now you can figure out where the problem is really, what the focus needs to be, so eventually everybody can win in the process. And I think that's as simple as it gets as in business. I have a book called Stop Hiring Losers because I've seen enough people make bad hiring decisions. I help build winning teams, and I know pretty much when I walk into a situation what are some of the challenges they're likely to face, because if they have been through the growing pains like most people do, then you and I can figure out what the challenges are. And because you have the experience of having helped so many different types of businesses, you also have personal experience of how you have helped solve those problems. So how does somebody approach you? Like, what is it that they're saying that makes you say, maybe I can help you? How does that work? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time talking to the owners of businesses. And for me, what I'm looking for are the owners of privately held companies in about a $2 to $75 million range. And, $75 million, when I first got into this, I thought, well, certainly anyone in that range is going to have a CFO. And actually, even at Mr. Allen's was in that range, and I found they didn't have a CFO. They had a controller. And it's important, I want to let you know, I don't replace controllers or accounting teams or CPAs. I work with them. And hopefully work with them, train them, and elevate them so that they can do some of the things I do. And that saves expenses for the business owner. Business owners, I talk to business owners if they're interested in what I do. I provide a no-cost discovery analysis where I sit down with the business owner, interview them, put the financials through our proprietary software, and I look for areas where I can provide benefit. If I can provide a benefit and the benefit I can provide is greater than my cost, it should be a no-brainer. If I can't provide a benefit, then we practice integrity selling. We don't sell just to sell. If there's no benefit to be provided, then I can't help. So,
Well, that's why I'm a big fan of capitalism. In capitalism, the only way you make money is by providing real tangible value to somebody else. And people don't, leave their money. They don't hand over the money just willingly like that unless they see there is a reason for them to give the money. Like yesterday, I was at a restaurant, obviously, and it was my 28th anniversary, married for 28 years.
happy anniversary.
Thank you. And again, the waiter provided great service, so it's an easy thing to tip the person, and the food was excellent. So what happens is I felt I got the value that I was looking for, so I'm gladly going to give them the money. And that's what you're talking about. In your discovery analysis, you are trying to position yourself as somebody who can solve their problem. And if you don't feel you can really help them, then you're going to walk away because it's not going to be a win-win situation. And I think that's a good way to look at that.
Absolutely. Earl Nightingale says, unless you work at the Mint, you don't make money, you earn it. So
I think that's a
I'm
good
out
statement.
there.
Yeah, so you don't make money, you earn it. And I agree with you 100%. So what are some of the projects you are looking for that some of the viewers may know somebody's looking for your help? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, usually I ask people just to introduce me to the owners of privately held companies, and I have a discussion with them. I don't ask anyone to try to figure out if somebody actually needs my services or if they can even recommend me, just to introduce me. And normally talking to the business owner, if there's something connects or resonates with them, they'll ask me to take it to the next level with the discovery analysis. But some of the services I provide are solving problems, and often those they revolve around cash, is pretty typical. But not always. There's other problems. And, like I said earlier, I'm not just financial. I've done ISO 9000 for 2 companies. I've done the balanced scorecard, where we look not just at financial, but we look at growth. We look at our employees, our vendors. So it's holistic. In addition to that, companies don't have to be in trouble. They might want to just take it to the next level and grow. And companies don't have to want to exit, but even if you're not planning on exiting for 3, 5, 10 years, it's such a great idea to start preparing for that exit today. And that will add value when you sell in the future, if by nothing else, reducing friction in the sale process. And nobody wants friction when they're selling their company. They want it to get done and get done quickly.
Exactly. And you are talking about exiting in a way that there is a tangible value provided in the marketplace, so somebody is willing to buy it. And there is actually transaction where you can have maybe succession or somebody providing you decent enough of money or however that could be. So there is people can actually have that transaction go through, like you said, smoothly enough. And most people are so involved in their business, they don't really have a strategy. They don't have enough processes in place. And somebody like you can make sure that the balance sheet and everything else looks healthy, I'm sure, to a point where somebody looks at it and say, hey, you know what? This looks like a good business to buy. Would I be right in saying that?
Absolutely. There's a lot of ways. I have what I call my value building actions that we can apply to companies to ensure that they get the maximum value when they exit. And as you're sort of implying, it's a high percentage of owners do not have an exit strategy, or even that may be a succession plan, like you're saying. And we talk about that in the book, The Exit Strategy.
So Patrick, how can people get hold of you?
The best way to get a hold of me is at my website, which is patrickmurphycfo.com, or you can email me at patrickmurphy@b2bcfo.com.
Very good, fantastic. And you are local here. You are married. You have you have children, young children as well, correct?
I do. I'm local. I'm in Bloomfield Hills, but I'm willing to travel to help a business owner.
Fantastic. And any last words that you would like to share?
I just thank you very much for having me here today. I greatly appreciate it.
Well, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I hope you learned a few things about being a CFO, or how can a CFO provide value to your organization. And Patrick, it has been fun getting to know you.
Thank you, MInesh.